So what if you could build a brand new app and in just a few months get it to over $14,000 a month in revenue? Well, today we're breaking down the exact playbook one founder used to do just that. And get this, he did it with no audience and no big ad budget.
Yep, you heard that right. $14,000 a month. That's the revenue Evan's app, which is called Locked, hit just 4 months after it went live. I mean, in today's crowded app market, that is just an incredible achievement.
So the real question is, how? How did he pull this off without a built-in fan base and without spending a dime on traditional ads? What was the secret sauce? Well, it turns out it all came down to his single, really powerful strategy. Let's dive in.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at the app itself. Then, we'll get into the growth engine that powered everything. After that, I'll lay out the step-by-step playbook you can actually use. We'll look at the founder's story, and finally, wrap up with the new rules this all teaches us.
All right, first up, the $14K a month app mystery. So let's talk about this app. It's called Locked, and it's a gamified health and fitness app.
Now, this is not your typical, boring to-do list app. Nope. Locked turns self-improvement into a video game. You're literally choosing a character, earning XP for completing your real-life habits, getting badges, and competing on leaderboards. The whole thing is engineered to keep you hooked and motivated.
And the way it makes money is a pretty standard subscription model, $40 a year or $7 a week. But here's the really slick part. If you go to close the payment screen, it immediately hits you with a 50% discount. It's such a smart, simple move that probably saves a ton of would-be customers.
Okay, so the app is cool. The pricing is smart. But how did it grow so ridiculously fast? Well, instead of fighting for attention with ads, Evan went all in on one specific growth channel.
And that channel was influencer marketing. The logic is so simple but so powerful. Influencers have already done the hard work of building trust with their audience. So, when they recommend an app, it doesn't feel like a pushy ad. It feels like a genuine tip from a friend, and that makes all the difference.
And just look at this. This is what happens when it works. This chart shows the results from just one influencer collaboration. The day before the post, the app made about $300. The day of, over $700. It peaked at nearly $1,000 a day. The daily revenue more than tripled, practically overnight.
Now let's do the math on that one campaign, because this is where it gets really interesting. The video got about 1 million views. The cost to get that creator to post? $800. But that single payment drove around 1,800 new downloads and brought in an estimated $3,000 in revenue. That's a nearly 4x return. I mean, come on, that's an incredible money machine. So you're probably thinking, okay, that's amazing, but how can I actually do that? Well, this isn't just luck. It's a system. Let's break down the exact step-by-step playbook you can use to get similar results.
The whole thing boils down to a pretty clear 5-step process. First, you hunt for creators in your space. Then, you send a super simple, non-spammy message to get their attention. The key, and this is crucial, is to get them on an actual call, not just email. That's where you build a real relationship. Then you close a deal that you know is profitable. And finally, you launch with super clear expectations.
Okay, now, this next part is maybe the most important concept in this entire playbook. It's all about 2 acronyms, CPM and RPM. CPM, or cost per mil, is what you pay the influencer for every 1,000 views. RPM, revenue per mil, is what you earn from those same 1,000 views. The goal is dead simple. Always, always make sure your RPM is higher than your CPM. As long as you're making more than you spend, you literally can't lose.
So when you get on that call, you've got 4 main ways to structure a deal. You can do a simple flat fee, a pure CPM deal, but Evan's favorite, and honestly the smartest, is the MVC, or Minimum View Clause deal. This basically says, I'll pay you a fixed price, but you have to hit a certain number of views. It totally protects you from a video that just bombs. It's a genius way to manage your risk.
All right, so we've got the app, we've got the growth strategy, but who is the person actually behind all of this? And what kind of crazy tech is powering it? And this is so important to remember. This success did not happen overnight. Evan's journey started when he was just 9 years old, making games on Roblox. He went through a bunch of failed businesses as a teenager before he ever had a real win. It's a classic story of persistence paying off.
And what about the technology? Well, you might be surprised at how lean it is. Figma for design, Xcode with some AI help for the coding, a tool called Superwall to test different paywalls, and Supabase on the back end.
This is proof positive that you don't need a massive team or a huge budget to build something really profitable these days.
So what's the big picture here? What's the final lesson we can take away from this entire story?
Well, it really comes down to this quote from Evan. He believes that most of us are taught to follow the exact same path in life. But the real advantage, the real opportunity, comes when you decide to step off that conveyor belt and see the world differently.
And that's really the ultimate takeaway here. The game has changed. The barriers that used to exist, needing money, connections, a fancy degree, they've all crumbled. You no longer need anyone's permission to build a business. The tools are available to everyone.
So the big lesson today is that the old playbook is just, well, it's obsolete. This story shows that if you have a clever strategy and you stick with it, you can build something incredible from scratch. So here's what I want you to do. If you were going to replicate this project, what would be your absolute first step? Leave a comment below with your plan, and I'll jump in and help you avoid the common pitfalls.